What if I told you that what seemed like a flagrant disobedience of Lewis Hamilton under Ferrari's orders, it was actually a master play to avoid total disaster? And what Nico Rosberg, his eternal rival, was the one who uncovered the whole truth. The tension in Baku was not just atmospheric, it was tactical, political, and emotional. In the last stretch of the Azerbaijan 2025 Grand Prix, with only one return to dispute, Ferrari's radio launched a crucial order to Lewis Hamilton. He had to let his partner Charles Leclerc pass. At that time, both rolled out of the top 5, fighting for the 8th and 9th position. But the strategic context made this change of places more serious implications than it seemed from the outside. What happened in the following seconds unleashed a fire inside Ferrari, among fans and in the international press. Hamilton did not obey. He accelerated down the main line without modifying his trace or lifting his foot. The image of his SF25 moving away from Leclerc with only a few meters between them was interpreted as an act of rebellion. For many, a betrayal of team orders. But when the smoke of the controversy began to dissipate, an unexpected voice arose to offer another perspective. Nico Rosberg, world champion in 2016 and one of the few who has shared a team with Hamilton in real equality conditions, explained that what happened was, in his words, a survival play. And he didn't say it lightly. Rosberg crumbled the context in which this situation occurred. Behind Leclerc came Isack Hadjar, Racing Bull's pilot, at a dangerously short distance, just 2 seconds. Hadjar had kept rubber and was thrown in his best pace in the entire weekend. If Hamilton had reduced the speed to allow Leclerc's overtaking, that little gesture could have triggered a double loss. Leclerc would have been poorly positioned after overtaking, and Hadjar could have taken the opportunity to snatch Ferrari not only the octave, but also the 9th position. In a single curve, a disciplined maneuver would have resulted in a tactical catastrophe. The margin to act was almost non-existent. With the DRS enabled, the tailwind, and an urban track that does not forgive mistakes, any badly done calculation would have ended with the 2SF25 out of the points. Hamilton, aware of the threat behind and the limited space to execute a safe movement, decided not to do it. It was a decision taken in milliseconds, amid the stress of the last round, and under the risk of compromising not only the result of the race, but the integrity of both cars. What for many was an insubordination, for Rosberg it was proof of how Hamilton has developed, over the years, a strategic reading in the race that goes beyond the instructions of the pit wall. It was an act of protection, yes, of itself, but also of the team in a situation poorly managed by Ferrari. It was not pride or ego. It was pure logic of survival within chaos. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix not only evidenced a punctual fracture between the two Ferrari pilots, but completely undressed the team's operational fragility. What began as a simple disagreement for a position, quickly transformed into an internal scandal where disorganization, poor communication, and lack of leadership were combined to generate a perfect storm inside Maranello's garage. Radio messages not issued during the official transmission were subsequently revealed and are devastating. In one of them, Charles Leclerc is heard describing the situation with hard, sharp words, which contrast with his usual diplomatic image. "This is stupid. It's unfair," he said in a sheer. And then, with a sarcasm that did not go unnoticed, he threw a poison dart towards his partner. "You can enjoy that P8. This visceral reaction was not a simple relief. It was the confirmation that Leclerc felt betrayal not only of Hamilton, but of the team itself that did not know how to manage the situation in advance or clearly. The order that Hamilton received from his track engineer, Riccardo Adami, was too late. And the worst, it came poorly formulated, without context, without prior warning. They told him, "Let Charles go from behind. He is 1.5 behind you. This is the last round." In race terms, that is equivalent to launching a bomb in the middle of a war zone. They were in the middle of the main straight, with Hamilton already at maximum speed and with the tires in delicate conditions after more than 50 laps of urban punishment. It was impossible to perform a clean, safe, and effective maneuver at that time without generating a risk of collision or without losing 2 positions in the process. This type of communication errors are not new in Ferrari, but what happened in Baku represents a new level of disorganization. Why didn't they anticipate? Why didn't they establish a clear plan since the last 10 laps? Why did not more attention to Hadjar's close attention from Racing Bulls, which approached with a more aggressive rhythm? None of those questions has received an official answer. But what has been clear is that within the Ferrari wall the decisions are being made with an improvisation level incompatible with a team that aspires to the world title. In addition, this communicational chaos only turned on internal tensions that had already been managed. Hamilton arrived in Ferrari as 7 times world champion, with the experience and prestige of those who have dealt with winning structures. Leclerc, on the other hand, is the heir of the project, the house pilot, backed by years of loyalty to the team. Both seek to lead, but they do it in different contexts. Leclerc through institutional loyalty, Hamilton through the authority won on the track and outside it. And this is where Rosberg's analysis takes even more relevance. The German not only pointed out Hamilton's play as a logic from the strategic point of view, but also remarked the dysfunctional environment in which it occurred. For Rosberg, a team that allows this level of chaos on radios is not prepared to fight for a title. Because in Formula 1 he doesn't win the car faster. The one who makes fewer mistakes wins. And in Baku, Ferrari again showed that he is still far from that standard. Rosberg, who knows Hamilton as few, recalled something that many forget. Lewis is not another pilot. It is a strategist. When they shared garage in Mercedes, Rosberg learned that Hamilton knew how to play outside the track with the same intensity as inside her. An informal dinner with Dieter Zetsche, Daimler's CEO, was enough to change the internal political balance of the team. Rosberg lived it like a stab in the back. It was like a dagger in the heart, he confessed. And that way of operating has not been lost over the years. It has simply changed the stage. From Brackley to Maranello. In Ferrari, Hamilton faces a different challenge but equally complex. To insert itself into a historical, rigid, nationalist structure, where decisions do not always respond to sports logic but to balances of internal power, personal relationships and institutional pressures. To survive and eventually lead within this environment, it is not enough to gain races. You have to gain influence, and that is exactly what he began to do in Baku. His decision not to let Leclerc, beyond tactical justification, was also a way of marking territory. To establish a precedent, I will not blindly obey if the decision compromises my interests and those of the team. It was a silent but blunt message. A message not only for the Ferrari wall but also for Leclerc, and for managers who observe from above. These types of gestures as children who seem redefine internal hierarchies. In Formula 1, who makes critical decisions at limit moments not only demonstrates character, demonstrates control. And in Baku, Hamilton showed that he still retains that instinct that made him one of the most successful pilots in history, to convert each adverse situation into a political opportunity. In addition, you cannot ignore the difference of style with your partner. Leclerc continues to operate within the traditional standards of the Scuderia. Respect the team, trust the direction, to accept even decisions that you do not agree. Hamilton, on the other hand, comes from a winning culture where the pilot not only executes but influences, where the team is challenged if that is what is needed to improve. And that philosophy, although uncomfortable for Ferrari, can be precisely what he needs to break with the tactical mediocrity cycle that has been dragging for more than a decade. Hamilton's real game goes beyond radios and overtaking. It is played in the halls, in meetings with engineers, in silences before the press, in the words carefully chosen to describe the team. He knows that each statement can tip the balance in his favor or against him. He knows that every decision on the track has a second reading, political reading. And he knows, above all, that he is building his last great narrative in Formula 1. Not only wants to win more titles, he wants to leave a brand. He wants to be remembered as the man who resurrected Ferrari. In Baku, Hamilton not only avoided a tactical error, he started a silent war for team control. A war in which not everyone has realized that they are already participating. Because it wasn't just Hamilton disobeying. It was Ferrari being exposed. It was Leclerc understanding that his internal status is being challenged. It was Rosberg taking the floor and launching a warning that for many may sound prophecy. Ferrari is not ready to win if he continues to repeat the usual errors. And it was also a message for the rest of the grill. Lewis Hamilton has not reached Maranello to integrate. It has arrived to transform. This episode opens an uncomfortable but inevitable question. Can Ferrari really survive the shock of two titans with different ambitions, opposite philosophies, and a story to write? Is the team prepared to leave behind the paternalism of its past decisions and embrace the crudeness of high modern competition? Or will it end up repeating the internal collapse that we have seen before with Vettel, with Alonso, even with Prost? And now I leave it to you. What side are you? From Hamilton, who decides by instinct and experience in the midst of chaos? Or of the Leclerc that cries out for justice within a hierarchy such as Ferrari? Do you think Ferrari must choose one, or learn finally to live with two leaders? I want to read your opinion in the comments. This debate is not just about Baku. It is about the future of the whole season, and perhaps about Ferrari's very future.